New information about 3 people found dead inside a Cary home. The fiery crash on I-440 connected to this case and how the community is remembering them.
I'm timing out the arrival of this cold front that's bringing rain chances and more. When the winds will pick up and temperatures plunge.
Then, North Carolina Republicans using a Helene relief bill to limit power of incoming Democrats before they take office. We break down the changes they want to make.
Here we go with some new information out today that links 2 cases in Wake County. A fiery crash on the Beltline you see on your left, and 3 people found dead at a home in Cary. WRAL covered both of these stories as they unfolded, and tonight we know they're actually 2 parts of one story. Thank you for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. One of those 3 people found dead was 19-year-old Xavier Holton. It turns out Holton was also the driver behind the wheel of that car that crashed on the Beltline.
That crash, that happened earlier this month, but it was yesterday afternoon. The police say Holton shot and killed his mother and his 19-year-old girlfriend. That girlfriend's mother believing that Holton was struggling with mental illness.
WRAL's Aaron Thomas joining us live in Cary. Aaron, Holton was a student at NC Central, and you're hearing from the university tonight.
Yeah, that's correct. And we'll get to that statement in just a little bit, but we do want to set the scene for you at this home where those 3 bodies were found here on Smokemont Drive. A much different scene. We don't see the swarm of Cary police cars that we saw yesterday, but we do still see the lights illuminating from this house, as well as 2 cars that are still on the driveway. Just within the past hour and a half, we did hear from North Carolina Central's chancellor, who shared her remarks on this loss of their student. And that statement reads in part, "I'm deeply saddened to announce the tragic loss of one of our students, Mr. Xavier Neal Holton, who passed away on Monday, November 18th of 2024. While details surrounding his passing remain under investigation, the pain of losing a member of our Eagle family is deeply felt." Tonight, we arrived back here in this Cary community to try and speak with neighbors. One who answered the door, she remembers Holton's mother, Erica Holton, as a good neighbor. Her son, Xavier, was identified in that crash report that you just all mentioned. WRAL reported on that crash near Crabtree Mall on I-440. The mother of Amina Guy says that Holton dealt with mental health challenges, but at this point it's unclear exactly what led to this unfortunate situation, resulting in 3 people that were found dead. Now, we have, of course, heard from Amina Guy's family. We're actively working on speaking with any folks who know Erica Holton's family, as well as Xavier Holton, by reaching out to several church family members. I'm actually set up to speak with a young lady who says that she's known Xavier Holton since they were in 6th grade. So we'll have all that for you. That'll be new tonight at 10 on Fox 50. Aaron Thomas, WRAL News, live in Cary.
Thank you, Aaron.
This is Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center with some breaking news. We had a crash on 40 eastbound on the west side of Raleigh, and just in the past few minutes, they have cleared most of that. As we take a look at that live camera on I-40 right around Carytown Boulevard, still have some activity over there on the right shoulder, and it is creating a delay. Some backups begin around Harrison Avenue on 40 eastbound through Wade Avenue. So if you're listening to us on the radio on 101.5 HD3, if you're getting ready to head out to dinner, just want to keep that in mind between Cary and West Raleigh.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Let's get over now to meteorologist Kat Campbell in the WRAL Severe Weather Center as we get ready for this temperature tumble.
And it's going to happen, from tomorrow afternoon when we hit 74, happens overnight. By Thursday morning, we're waking up to temperatures in the low 40s. That's more than a 30-degree temperature drop just overnight. Here comes the cold front, though, and before it gets here, we still have one warm day left, and that's going to come with some showers that we have creeping into our area tonight. Very light rain tonight. It's going to be patchy, mainly toward the Sandhills and Fayetteville before midnight, and then after midnight, we'll have a better chance of these showers moving through during the early morning hours for the rest of us, including the Triangle. 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, about a 30% chance of a shower for the main morning commute. And then throughout the day, it'll be mostly cloudy, a few breaks in the clouds, and a few scattered showers possible through the afternoon and evening hours. As we get into the late evening hours, especially between about 8 p.m. and midnight, that's when we could see our final band of some scattered showers move through, and that's going to come with some serious winds. We're talking about winds gusting 30 to 40 miles per hour, the strongest winds lasting through about midnight, and it stays pretty windy, but this time cold and windy after that. I'll have a closer look at the wind gusts out there through the weekend and for the Raleigh Christmas Parade coming up.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you soon, Kat. There is a mad dash happening right now in the North Carolina legislature as we take a live look inside the Capitol building. Debate is underway right now on a big vote that could take place a little later tonight. It involves hurricane relief money and a whole lot more. Let's unpack all of this for you for just a moment, because right now, as you probably know, Republicans have a supermajority in both chambers. And that means that they have the votes to overturn a governor veto if they want, a power that will expire on the 1st of next year. You see, the GOP lost that supermajority in the House after this past election. So this is their last chance, you could say, to push new laws through both chambers without making any deals with any Democrats. The two bills seem pretty simple at face value. The first was a vote to override Governor Cooper's veto that stopped their plan to put more money toward private school vouchers. The other bill involves more money for Hurricane Helene relief. You might agree with the vouchers bill. You might not agree with it. It's a pretty contentious topic. But helping people in the mountains, that's a whole lot less controversial, you could say. The trouble is, these bills are about much more than vouchers and storm relief. In fact, when you look a little beyond the front page, you'll find that immigration policy is baked into the vouchers bill. That's right, a bill about funding school vouchers. They added a rule that requires sheriffs to work with ICE. And inside the Helene relief bill, you can find a bunch of tweaks to take power away from the governor, from the attorney general, and a lot of other offices held by Democrats. What kind of tweaks? Well, if this bill passes, the person overseeing the State Board of Elections will change from the governor to the state auditor. That means Governor-elect Josh Stein, a Democrat, loses the power, and State Auditor-elect David Bullock, a Republican, would gain it. The bill would also take powers away from, as I said, the Attorney General, as well as the Lieutenant Governor, both offices that were won by Democrats in this past election. Here to help us make some sense of all of this is someone who knows the ins and outs pretty well of this sort of thing, WRAL Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie. So it sounds like, Laura, these two bills are about 4 or 5 different issues all packed into these two bills. And it makes you think, if someone might want to vote against the idea of stripping power away from the governor, they would also have to deny hurricane relief in the same step. Seems kind of strange to me. Can you walk us through it?
Sure. I mean, this is a tactic that's often used, especially by the current Republican majority, to attach a whole lot of different topics to a popular bill, right? So that's why they're using hurricane relief in this case, because like you said, no one that's seen what happened in Western North Carolina is going to vote against helping the people out there, right? But what we have is a 132-page bill. There's $227 million in it for Helene relief. But there's about more than 100 pages of things that have nothing to do with disaster recovery. These are things like, as you say, moving power away from the incoming Democrats who are going to take office in January, changing state election laws in really kind of drastic ways. Also changing state regulations for everything from hog farms to transportation to energy and utilities. So these have all been sort of glommed on to this omnibus bill that they're still calling a relief bill in hopes that this whole thing can just sort of scoot through under that label. And yes, it does make it difficult. The idea is also to make it difficult for the governor to veto it. Governor Roy Cooper has been calling for lawmakers to do much more than they have so far. But when this crosses his desk, taking power away from the governor, it's very unlikely that he would sign it, and I don't think he would even allow it to become law without his signature. I would not expect that.
Right. So, again, Republicans didn't need Democrats or even the governor to make this stuff happen. But again, the Democrats wondering, should they put their name on this bill or not? How should they approach these changes, and what will it look like as people in the future are looking back at these moments?
Do you really want to be on the record? As having voted against hurricane relief?
Right. What appears, in your opinion, to be the most significant power shifts included in these bills?
I think, again, it is the shifting of power away from the Democrats coming into office. Back in 2016, when Governor Roy Cooper won election over incumbent Republican Governor Pat McCrory, legislators held a similar session in late December where they moved a lot of power away from the governor's office and moved it into the legislature. In the meantime, the state Supreme Court said, well, you can't really do that. It's not constitutional. So what they've decided to do now is to move a lot of the power to other executive offices in the government that are held at the moment or will be held soon by Republicans. So, for example, giving the treasurer appointments instead of the governor, giving the auditor control over the state board of elections instead of the governor. This is obviously a gambit that's going to get taken to court. It will get litigated. They're going to try to see whether or not this would pass the test for the state Supreme Court, which is currently dominated also by Republicans.
Interesting. So just to keep people up to speed on everything, the school vouchers and the ICE cooperation policies, those all passed the House a little earlier tonight. They're going to go to the Senate tomorrow. The power shift stuff, that still has a few steps to go. You touched a little bit on it, on what the future might hold for it. But can you tell us what is next, when we can expect at least a vote on it?
Certainly. I mean, actually, the power shift bill is moving quickly as well. So they're going to vote on this. They're actually in the middle of the debate back here tonight. There's still 4 people waiting to speak. It's maybe a long night here. And that bill, when it passes, as it will on party lines, will go over to the Senate. And so the Senate will vote tomorrow on both the veto override and this relief bill / power shift bill. Both of the relief bill will end up going to the governor's desk, and he will be able to veto it, not sign it, and allow it to become law, or simply sign it. He has 10 days to do that, basically. But the veto override does not go back to the governor. It simply becomes law, and that would happen tomorrow as soon as it's entered into the state record. All right.
Laura Leslie, in the midst of another long night. You've spent many of them there in that building. We appreciate you stepping out for a second and giving us a report. Thanks, Laura.
It has been a busy day in the capital city. The state house has a new leader, and the Supreme Court race is going to a recount. So let's get you caught up on the 5 things that you should know right now. Both westbound lanes of I-40 near Smithfield are back open after a moving truck overturned this afternoon, causing hours-long traffic backups. This view just really shows the Miracle Movers truck on its side, its cab crushed. Talk about miracle. Neither the truck driver nor the passenger were injured. Tomorrow, bipartisan election teams will begin recounting the votes in the race for state Supreme Court justice. This has been a super tight race. Democratic candidate Allison Riggs has been leading Republican Jefferson Griffin by less than 1,000 votes. Griffin asked for a recount. The Board of Elections says the recount should be finished by November 27th. A bus driver in Zebulon accused of breaking a 3-year-old's leg appeared in court for the first time this afternoon. 42-year-old Tiffian Truesdale is charged with felony child abuse inflicting serious injury. We learned she bonded out of jail last night. Court documents say she was driving the child from Durant Elementary to a daycare when it happened. Truesdale is due back in court December 10th.
North Carolina has a new Speaker of the House, 37-year-old Destin Hall, now the youngest Speaker in state history. The Republican lawmaker replaces Tim Moore, who was elected to Congress earlier this month. Hall's district currently covers communities in western North Carolina. The federal government plans to award $285 million for a chips manufacturing institute in Durham. This new partnership is called Smart USA. It aims to speed up development of semiconductor technology and reduce manufacturing costs to make chips. So we talk a lot about how Raleigh wants to revitalize and continue to grow in downtown. But this plan isn't just about new restaurants and new theaters. The city wants people to really move down there. Thousands of apartments have been built, more are on the way. But are people actually moving in? We're going to take a look at the data.
Plus, an 855-pound manatee found in the Tar River. What wildlife officials and even SeaWorld are doing to help it. So more people are moving to downtown Raleigh, and developers know it. You know, this year alone, downtown added 10,000 residential units, and more are on the way. WRAL's Sean Gallagher shows us how this represents a shift to what the city could become.
There are 101 ways you can measure the success of a downtown, but ultimately it boils down to the people, and new data shows more people are flocking to the heart of the city of Oaks.
Sean, come in.
Inside the 400H apartments, it's easy to see the views for the future of downtown Raleigh from high above the city of Oaks.
I think it's a little aspirational. They're saying the lifestyle they had is not the lifestyle they can have here.
There are nearly 300 units inside 400H. Woody Coley says 90% of them filled with people who live, work, or play downtown.
We talked about 20,000 people within a mile of here. That causes developers to begin to think about this as a possibility.
Already this year, 10,000 residential units are in the downtown core, with an additional 7,800 planned, with an average rent of roughly $1,700 a month. All of this part of the reimagining of downtown Raleigh, according to Bill King.
And that is what's very different than a few years ago, is you're leaning more into residential and visitors and less into employees.
Instead of working downtown, King says more people are working from home from downtown, choosing places like 400H to be in the middle of the buzz.
There are 30 restaurants within 3 blocks, and that's exciting to a certain audience.
Downtown's apartment occupancy is 88.7%, which is why its footprint is getting bigger.
Downtown will continue to expand and grow. I mean, I think you're already seeing that. If you look at the buildings going up between here and Dix Park. I mean, that's essentially downtown moving to Dix Park.
They are adding inventory into an undersupply market.
Stacy Amfinston is a real estate market analyst. He says this most recent data from Downtown Raleigh Alliance bodes well for the future.
It's a very simple argument, and it really comes down to 2 things. We have net population growth and we have an undersupply of housing.
So think the canary in the gold mine, sounding the alarms for a flourishing downtown. Sean Gallagher, WRAL News in downtown Raleigh.
You just heard Sean say that downtown Raleigh's apartment occupancy rate is 88%. What do you think of that? Do you think that's high or low? Well, Chase Bank reports a healthy rate for a city is at or above 90%. So not bad. We're almost there. Raleigh also seems to be getting it right by targeting work from home employees. Goldman Sachs found the share of Americans doing this is somewhere between 20 and 25%. That's way higher than the 3% figure before the pandemic.
Very interesting. It's going to be cold in downtown with the wind kind of whistling through the buildings.
Yes, and that's going to have an impact on the parade coming up this weekend. So a lot of people are headed to downtown Raleigh. Bring your blankets, bring your coats, and make sure that your coat has some kind of a windproof exterior on it, because it's going to be pretty blustery starting tomorrow night and then lasting all the way into the weekend. As we look ahead, tomorrow night the winds start to pick up mainly after about 8 o'clock, and then we stay windy through Saturday, gusting 25 to 35 miles per hour Thursday with highs only in the 50s. Check out Friday, 53 is our high temperature. We'll be gusting 25 to 30 miles per hour on Friday, and then Saturday pretty blustery. Winds gusting 25 to 35 miles per hour again, and temperatures only topping out in the 50s. So let's talk about these lows. Tonight, 60, exceptionally warm for November for a low temperature. Very mild out there tonight. Enjoy it while you can, because as we get into Friday morning and Sunday morning, we're going to be back in the mid to upper 30s. We're not likely to see our first freeze of the season here in the Triangle. There could be a little bit of patchy frost Friday and Sunday, but the wind may help to limit that. And for the Raleigh Christmas parade, a couple of clouds around early on, and then we clear out. It should be very nice. 44 at 8 a.m. as you're lining up, 50 degrees at 10 a.m., and then 54 as Santa rolls in right around noon. We do have some showers that we are tracking out ahead of the cold front. A couple of sprinkles toward the Sandhills and southern Cumberland County. And these are just, for the most part, going to be light sprinkles, a couple light showers tonight and tomorrow. But for now, in the Triangle, we're dry, 66 degrees, still at 7:30. Pretty remarkable for November. A southwest wind helping to keep things very warm and mild. That's a flow out of the Gulf of Mexico. Tomorrow, we'll see our wind direction shift out of the northwest late at night. But during the day, it's still a southwest wind. That means we'll still be in the 70s tomorrow. We'll see a sustained wind over 10 miles per hour, perhaps up to 20 miles per hour for a couple of hours tomorrow night. But let's talk about the rain timeline. There's a couple of windows that you could see rain. One would come very early tomorrow morning. I think we'll get a little bit of a break late morning into the early afternoon. And then again during the evening, you could see a couple of showers. No big deal. It wouldn't hurt to send your kids to school with a raincoat on, though. Tomorrow, our last warm day up until next week. We've got more 70s in the forecast next week. 74 in Raleigh as well as Durham, 73 in Rocky Mount, 76 degrees in Fayetteville tomorrow. It's going to be another warm day until temperatures come crashing down. More than 30-degree temperature drop tomorrow night, putting us at 41 Thursday morning. We'll stay pretty chilly for the end of the week through Saturday. Sunday looks pretty good, mostly sunny, 63. Next week looking milder. Next week, of course, we've got Thanksgiving coming up. Monday and Tuesday look pretty good. Wednesday not looking bad either, but as we get into Thanksgiving, that could be the arrival of our next cold front. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that forecast, because right now it does look like there will be at least the potential of rain around Thanksgiving. Still unsure the timing of that, though.
All right, let us know. Thank you, Kat. Our one last thing before we go tonight. How did a manatee pop up in Pitt County of all places? Well, safe to say she swam there, but she's still a long way from home. Her story in about 2 minutes. One last thing for you tonight. It's something you don't see every day in North Carolina, a manatee.
Yeah, this manatee was swimming in the Tar River in the middle of Pitt County. Obviously not where she belongs. Sean Gallagher is back with the story of this female manatee found a long way from home.
When Sam Summerlin got a video of this manatee from his